this video, we're going to be talking about how to edit audio and MIDI. I'm also going to be showing you how to navigate that process, how to edit audio and how to edit MIDI. We have a MIDI event here. I'm going to record just another one so you can follow the process. I'll hit delete and this goes off. From our previous videos, I've been able to show you how to create an audio track, so I believe that is not a new thing to you anymore. We're going to be adding a few audio tracks here so you can see how we record into this. So we add an audio track, let's say 3 track counts. Add track. Above here we have 2 MIDI tracks and then we have 3 audio tracks. I want to record on tempo, and the tempo for this project is, this is tempo, you can see here. The tempo for this project is 120 beats per minute, 120 BPM. If I want to raise the tempo, or I can use my mouse scroll, or I can just pull, click and drag up or down, or I can type the specific tempo I want to use. So let's say I want to use 100. We have 100. The project window and the whole project has adjusted to the tempo we just set. To be on time, to have a reference for timing, we'll have to activate our metronome, which is just here. And if you can't find it here, maybe your Cubase doesn't have this. Where you can find that is to come to transport, because it's on the transport bar. Come to this toolbar here and say come to transport, then you say use metronome. The shortcut for that is C. Our metronome is on now. C, you press the C, you can see it deactivates and comes back on. So our metronome is on. 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's our count. This is to ensure your input is on time. We have assigned this MIDI track to a virtual instrument, which is Alien Sonic. Don't forget, whenever you want to record, your track must be amped or record enabled. Then I hit record. I'm recording on bar 5. And that is our MIDI recording. This is what we just recorded. This is not absolutely perfect. For us to be able to edit this and make it and customize it whichever way we want it to be, we can edit the notes. That's the wonderful thing about MIDI. We have absolute control over each note you see here. What we're going to do is we will double click to go into the MIDI editor. I double clicked and then it brought this up for me. This is the MIDI editor, or the piano roll in FL, in Cubase, in Pro Tools and other digital audio workstations. They have similar things like this. So I double click and I have this inside. These are all the notes. You can see that all these notes, they are not absolutely locked on grid. On bar 5 and bar 6, you see, we still have some extensions. And this is because of latency issues. This happens with MIDI inputs. And there's something we call the humanization effect, because I'm inputting this thing into Cubase. I'm inputting the notes into Cubase. Of course, I'm not going to be absolutely on time. There's just some little time lags on or before. There is a very, very interesting function in Cubase. It's common to MIDI editors. It is called the quantize function. What quantize does is the quantize, these are quantization values. These are the quantization values. 1/1, 1/2, 1/4, down to triplets, and then down to dotted. These are finer quantization values. This one is finer than 1/1. 1/2 is much more defined than 1/1, and it goes on like that. For this, I'm going to be using 1/16. What quantization does is it makes your MIDI input be on time. It quantizes your MIDI notes to time. And the shortcut for that is Q on your keyboard. So when I punch the button Q on my keyboard, see what happens. Can you see? It's locked to grid. This, see what happens. It locks it to the nearest, to the closest grid. You see that this note is closer to bar 6 than this. So once I click this, it approximates it to bar 6. And that's just what it does. If you want to quantize everything, you select all the notes you want affected and you hit Q and everything sits on time. Let's have a preview of this again. Switch off the metronome. Now it sounds perfect. And this is how you basically edit MIDI. For further extensions of editing MIDI, you can move your notes around. You can move it around the way you want. You can see. And then I can quantize. I can move this up by semitone by just selecting every note that I want affected, and then I press the up button on my keyboard and it moves it. You can change key easily without having a time stretch or having a pitch stretch in the sound. That makes it easy to move notes around. Then we have in the MIDI editor here just below. Another thing I want you to know is I can expand this so I can see the full function of the edit window. So let's expand this window. So my second screen, let's bring it here. Let's maximize it. And then here we go. You can see it is much more bigger. And you can see all the notes we recorded. On my left hand side, you can see the left hand side of the screen, you can see more MIDI controls. You have the expression map, you have the note expression. These are MIDI control values you can use to control some information about your MIDI input. So you have CC1, CC2, CC4, CC7, CC8. These are control parameters. These are control parameters or control protocols that are unique to MIDI controls. CC1 is modulation, and it is like that anywhere. CC2 is for controlling the breadth of the MIDI notes. Then you have the foot. I think this is a foot controller switch. Then we have the CC7. Then this is for the main volume. This is to control the main volume of the instrument that is being triggered, and so on and so forth. It goes as far as we have up to CC127, I think CC127 or CC128. Whole chain of controls. So you have all of that. Then you have extra controls here, MIDI notes as note expression. These are deeper MIDI functions. Then we have chord editing. Maybe you want to input chords, you want to drop chords. Cubase has presets of chords that you can combine and create unique chords of. Even if you're not a keyboard player, you have these functions here to give you different types of chords to play with, and you can drop the notes. You can drop just by a click. You would have a major 7 and have all of that. Can you see that? You see that this is a major 7. If I want a major chord with a 7th, you can see that. So that is the beauty of using this MIDI editor. Moving on to the quantize. You have quantize. You can have finer controls over your quantize functions. As you can see here, you have quantize, you have iterative quantize, you have auto apply, you have, for this one, you can, for every input, as you are inputting the notes, you have auto apply on, it will automatically quantize it to the nearest grid possible. That's one beautiful thing about this. So there is no humanization effect when you have this auto apply on. And then you can change the grid. You have MIDI quantization values here, different MIDI quantization values that you can quantize your MIDI notes to, and it goes on and on. Then you have the transpose function. You have the transpose function. Maybe you want to shift it to another note, or you want to transpose to another key. This is where you can do it. Transposing after you've played on a particular key, you can move it by semitones and you get the results instantly. Then you have the length of the notes. You have legato, you have scale legato, deeper functions, a lot of functions. And above this, you have the tools. You have the pick tool, object. You have the pick tool or object selection tool. You have the draw tool. You have the acoustic feedback. That is, when I have this on, when I click the notes, I can hear what is going on. I can hear the notes play. But if it's off, I won't hear anything. So that is how it works. Then we have object selection. We have draw tool. We have the eraser tool. Let's see the draw tool. The draw tool, once you click that, you can draw your notes by hand, just by clicking and dragging for as long as you want it to be. That's how you use that. Then for the eraser tool, you can use that to erase. You can see that. You can see that. You can erase. You can erase the notes. And for the trim tool, you can trim. You can trim diagonally, you can trim vertically, you can trim whichever way. To trim the notes by your size. If I want to trim it this way, you can see it trims it this way. If I want to trim it this way, to trim it this way. If I want to trim it this way, that works. That's what the trim tool is for. Then for the split tool will just cut it, will divide it at the selected point. Can you see? We have two. You see this? We can cut, and then it divides the notes into 2 notes or 2 different parts. Then we have the mute function. The mute function, you can mute the notes. The notes will not be deleted, but you can mute them. And once you select it again, it makes the notes active. That's the mute tool function. Then we have the glue function. You can glue these notes together. You can see that. It will glue it to the next notes ahead of it. That's what it does. If I want to glue this now, just glue this. See? So it helps you glue notes together. That's what this glue tool does. Then you have the zoom. You can manually zoom. You can see that. You can zoom in. There's separate tools for that. You can see. That is what the zoom tool is for. Then you have the line tool. This line tool enables you to draw notes by hand too. It functions similarly to the pencil tool or the draw tool, which is this. You can draw notes by hand. You can draw your notes this way. You can, depends. Cubase intelligently just lines notes chromatically by how you draw it, and it's very effective for whichever application you want to use it for. That's how interesting it is. You can see, very interesting. It's really nice. Then we now have the time warp. What the time warp is all about is it enables you to be able to warp time, to be able to compress time and decompress time. That's what it does. So these are deeper MIDI functions that enable you to have absolute control over your MIDI events. So you can warp the grid, you can just warp it. You can squeeze, let's say if I have my warp on, I can warp the time here and the MIDI function and the MIDI notes follow. That's what this is meant for. Then we have the snap off. What the snap does is it will ensure that your selection or your note selection or your note quantization happens on grid. So if this, let's say I'm having to adjust these notes now. I just zoomed in and I'm having to adjust these notes. I'm adjusting. You can see that it is adjusting to the grid within this bar. It is adjusting to the grid. But if I have the snap off, it won't approximate to that grid. You can see it's finer this way. It is much more customizable. It depends on what you want to hear, and it depends on your choice of what you would like to do. But for this lesson, I'll have to put the snap on. Then we have the quantization values here, or quantization presets as it's written in this indicator here. And quantize, set your quantization values. These are deeper waters in MIDI. You have various. Then this part you can, this is where you can access the VSA instrument. For this channel, what this MIDI notes is triggering on this channel is the Halion Sonic we opened earlier on. Let me just play that so you hear it again. If I want to make quick edits to the instrument, I can just come here and click, and I would see the instrument. I'll see the assigned instrument for that channel, just like that. And I can hide it. I can bring it again like that. So that is how to edit MIDI in the MIDI editor in Cubase. See you in the next class.